This is an open letter for Vida Nejad. This is a continuation of the other letter, the other video that I have made regarding the victimhood of my sister and how she has become a professional victim because it has served her well. This is a continuation of that video. So here's the thing, as I was saying, simply put, a few years ago, I visited my cousin, and I saw that his smaller child was doing the same, performing the same act with his middle child. That means pretending, because he was a smaller child, he was always pretending to be a victim of the middle child, and so the middle child was getting his ass beaten every time because he's being accused of mistreating his younger brother. So, and I've noticed this, that the youngest sibling was pretending to be a victim every time. And I happened to mention this to my cousin, and my cousin, thought about it a little and watched them behave towards each other a little more, and he figured out, yeah, I was right. The youngest one is pretending to be a victim to get his older sibling to get his way and get his older sibling in trouble. So anybody with a little brain, even if they're being manipulated at first, still with a little brain, or if somebody explains it to them, they will get it. Anybody with a little brain and a little explanation will get what's going on in a matter of victimhood and how people try to manipulate. Some people try to manipulate others by playing a victim. And, anybody can get it. But unfortunately, my father was so uninformed, uninterested, uninformed. He was an absolute shit. So when it came to my father, he was manipulated on and on until the day he died. He was manipulated by my sister. And here's the thing, usually it's the youngest sibling of the family that can get away with manipulating people into believing that he or she is always the victim and blah blah blah. But in our case, with our sister, because she was the only female sibling in the family, and she was able to convince everybody that her case is special, although she is the oldest child by, for example, 13 years older than me. But she was able to get away with manipulating everybody into thinking that she's the victim. Every time, all the time. Victim of her brothers, both of her brothers, a victim of her mother, a victim of her father, a victim of her circumstances, a victim of this, a victim of that. On and on and on. Depending on where she was sitting down and gossiping, with whom she was gossiping, she was, acting, pretending to be a victim of everybody else. And then tomorrow she's sitting and gossiping with somebody else in the family. She's pretending, acting as if she's a victim of everybody else, including that one that she was, speaking to the other day and pretending victimhood. Now she has in front of this one, she has become a victim of that one as well. Acting. And all this acting, pretending victimhood, you can really drive the your point home if you can, squeeze a few teardrops as well. And my sister was great at that. I mean, a great actor, and she could always squeeze a few teardrops for anything at the spin of a dime. On the dime she could, squeeze a few teardrops. And if you can do that, I mean, that's it. That's your father will not only, not only punish you for for bullying your brother, for not only your father will forgive you for all your bullying and stealing and cheating and lying, but also will give you a little extra just because your father is stupid and thinks that, yes, you have been a victim and you have a broken heart and you're a victim and this, you're a victim of that, and you're a victim of the other. So let's everybody help Vida Farrokh Nejad because, she's a victim. And yeah, my father was that simple-minded that every time, all the time, he would buy her story of victimhood for 60 years. I mean, up to recently, he was 90 and she was 60, and he gave most of the family's belongings to her because I guess she was a victim, because she couldn't, without our family's money, she couldn't send her children to Harvard and Yale. So therefore, in order to prevent her from becoming a victim of not having enough money to send her children to Harvard, that makes her a victim. Yes, it's that stupid, but that was our father. He was that stupid. Because again, we go back to Middle Eastern men, brown-skinned men, black-skinned men. These are men that it's clear that they have more nerve cells in their penis than they have in their brains. So you can manipulate a brown-skinned man much more easily. You can convince a brown-skinned man much more easily if you appeal to his emotions, if you appeal to his penis. If he get it hard, if a brown man, if a woman, can act as a, as a victim, the brown-skinned man automatically gets a hard-on and, jumps to the rescue because he's thinking with his penis. Well, my father was one of those brown-skinned men who never thought with his brain. Didn't apparently have any brain cells. But he had a lot of penis cells. A lot of nerve cells in his penis. So every time, all the time, for 60 years, my sister was able to manipulate him into thinking that she's a victim of every scenario, of every case. She's a victim of everything. Squeeze a few teardrops and you get everything. You get everything. So on one hand, imagine a person, this for example is my sister. Imagine a person, a fictitious person that has two faces. On one face that is towards you, and she's the devil, she's a thief, she's a liar, and she's a bully, and she's grabbing your lunch. And on the other face, which is towards other male members of this brown-skinned race, mostly male members of this brown-skinned race, she's crying and asking for help and acting as if she's the victim of this and that. Even the women, brown-skinned women in my family, in my tribe, in our culture, even they can easily be manipulated into believing that that another woman is probably the victim, is mentally we are more prepared to accept a woman to be a victim than a man. So again, she just have to cry a little more to get the women's sympathy as well. Just a little more crying and a little more acting, and she get their sympathy as well. So it's all based on pretending, acting as a victim in order to get everybody on your side. Well, me and my brother are not good at that. We don't like that. I don't like to pretend I'm a victim. Unless I am really a victim, in which now my father has, hopefully he's in hell. He has died away and has gone to hell. And now all we see what happened all through our life. And now it's just a point of setting the record straight. And I want to set the record straight how my sister got away with the shit she got away. So everybody else understands how this family got their money. So maybe next generations understand, somebody like my cousin understands when one of his children always pretends to be the victim, that it's an act. You don't need to be, they shouldn't be manipulated by, an actor. So that's the point. So me and my brother were not, first of all, we didn't feel it's necessary for us to act as a victim in order to get our own share. There's no need for acting. There is no need for sucking up to our father. We didn't think there shouldn't be a need for acting. It shouldn't be a need to sucking up. It shouldn't be a need for crying and all of that in order to at least get our fair share all throughout our life. The idea is that you shouldn't have to act with your father in order to get his sympathy or get him to help you. But unfortunately, our sister, the way she has gone through life of this acting and pretending victimhood and always demanding more and more and more and more, our father was sort of like, I guess this is what I think, that our father had come down to the point of that that if anybody really needs his help, he's not supposed to divide evenly. He has come to this understanding after seeing my sisters act all his life. I guess his idea was that if anybody really needs my help, they will come and beg and suck my penis and suck my dick and rub me and cry in front of me and pretend they're a victim and do this and do that and rub me the right way and do all of that in order to get a piece, a few dollars or a plate of food or whatever your sister is doing, sucking up to me and acting so you can maybe get your share. It's not worth it. As far as I'm concerned, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. As a human being, as a human being with responsibilities, one should recognize that a father, a mother, a parent should recognize he or she has just as much responsibility toward one of the siblings as he has towards other siblings. Equal responsibility. He has equal responsibility towards all his children. Has to divide whatever it is, his attention, his time, his money, his income, his wealth, whatever it is, has to be divided equally between all the children, all his siblings, all his reproduction, equally, not based on who can pretend who can pretend to be a bigger victim. not based on who can cry the loudest and not based on who can push the others aside hardest or fastest, not based on any of that, based on, you know, if you belong in this family, if you're one of the siblings in this family, here is your share, here is your share, here is your share, and I don't give a fuck which one of you acts better and pretends to be a bigger victim. This should be the logical way to, you know, treat the situation. But, you know, my father was not really a logical man. He was, you know, as I said, he had more brain cells, more nerve cells in his penis than he had in his brain. So, considering that, he was never logical. He was never tried to, you know, deal a fair hand between his children. Always being manipulated by a piece of shit like my sister into believing that she deserves more because she is crying more, she is demanding more, because she is, you know, she keeps saying that she's a victim of this, she's a victim of that, she's the... It was amazing. It was amazing to watch how my sister was playing everybody. Just for a few dollars more, or a plate of food, just for anything. It's sort of like it. I feel it's below my dignity to beg for a plate of food. Acting as a victim and trying to destroy others in order to get more for yourself, these are all, I feel, is beneath me. It's beneath human dignity. And I never, you know, really wanted to participate in it. But my sister has no dignity. She has no feelings. I don't know what has happened in her childhood that my sister has lost all feelings. Compassion, sympathy, empathy, feelings, nothing, nada. My sister is an empty vessel. The only person she's concerned about is herself. The rest of it is an act. For everybody else, she puts up an act. If she pretends that she cares for anything or anybody else, it's just an act. It's an act that you put up to, you know, so you can be able to sell yourself, as in, like, so they can buy your act. You act as if you care for the other person, so they would buy your act and believe that you're a victim and help you out. It's a... Unfortunately, I mean, these it's a race. It's racial related. It's cultural. It's a cultural thing that, you know, people start putting more value in things, material goods, than they do in integrity, humanity, compassion, sympathy, empathy, other people. I mean, imagine that all her life my sister was going through all this elaborate game of pretending victimhood in every minute of every second of her life, just to get more material goods, so she can get more stuff, more material goods. And you're thinking to yourself, why? If you can share and have a good relationship with your siblings, and not share and have bad relationship or no relationship with siblings, I always go for share and have a good relationship. But she has always gone for don't share and don't worry about having a relationship. It's sort of like just this fact that she has exhibited all her life, that she prefers to, you know, to have more things and less relationship, what does that fact tells you about her? It says that she puts more value in material goods than good experiences, goodwill. More material goods and less goodwill. It's a very primitive, it's a primitive mentality. It's a scarcity mentality. It's a mentality of material goods will bring you happiness. It's a mentality that says it's a scarcity mentality. It's a mentality that says grab it before it's gone, and more stuff will bring you happiness, and there's not enough stuff to go around, so you gotta grab it and hold on to it. It's a selfish mentality that says you are the only thing that matters. You have value, and nobody else does. This is a lot. This kind of mentality is very prevalent in brown skin land, in black skin land. It's the mentality of me and only me. Fuck the rest of y'all. It's a mentality that capitalism promotes. But then, really intelligent people don't go by this mentality. Don't put up with it. And unfortunately, as I said, my father was not intelligent. Neither was your father. Neither was Iraj. I mean, having two uncles in the United States and me reaching United States with however shitty way that I reached United States at age 13, and between two rich uncles, relatively rich uncles, none of them was able to, was willing to, help this, this guy until at least he reaches 18, charity wise. Just, you're raising 4 kids of your own. Why don't you just, pick up a charity case as well? Raise, Madonna has got like 5 children, 4 of which I guess are charity cases, Africans and Asians and whatever. For whatever reason she's doing it, for publicity or whatever, but she's still doing it. She's trying to promote it. It's still a good thing, even if she's doing it for publicity. Well, your father could have done this act of charity for me, at least for publicity. Hey, look at me! I've raised 4 kids of my own, and charitably raised another one that belonged to my brother, the numbnut who was not responsible enough to support his own child. That would have been a good charity, but no. So my point is this: my father was stupid, couldn't pick up that my sister was playing him as a professional victim in her professional victimhood play. And your father was stupid because he couldn't see beyond, the tip of his nose. Very greedy, very selfish. Iraj didn't even care about his own family. He raised that situation with his own family, and you wonder what the fuck is wrong with these brown skinned shit that do such a poor job of behaving in society, behaving with their families, behaving within their own small community, behaving within their society, stealing from each other, cheating from each other, preferring money over good relationships, preferring material goods And the idea is not that, okay, you give me what's yours. The idea is, okay, if there is this young child who has reached you by through going through hell and back in the way he has reached you, is sort of like, and his father is so irresponsible that doesn't want to support his child, and his brother is so irresponsible that he doesn't want to, look after his own brother, then this is a charitable case. And obviously the kid doesn't want to go back because he has to deal with that fucked up sister who's a professional victim. So it deserves some charity. But no. And then between Iraj and Manucher, your father and Iraj, again, a life they could have had a lifetime of good relationship, but over material goods, over money, they were working for a time to get together, and then they didn't want to work together, and somehow had a fight over who should stay and who should go, who should get more of the patients, who should get less of the patients, who should have more of the money, more of the income, who should have less of it. Which, sane people, if there weren't two Iranians, if there were two Norwegians, two Swedish men with some, brain cells, they would have said, okay, let's work it out. We don't need to, we don't need to go our separate ways and not see each other on a regular basis until the end of our life over certain amount of money. There is no amount of money is worth not having good relationship with your small community. No amount of money. Things has to be worked out fairly, and so good relationships can be maintained, because at the end of the day, that's what all that counts as far as having a good experience in this life. You shouldn't be there to impress. If your name is Manucher and your brother's name is Iraj, and your nephew's name is Farshad, you're not supposed to be trying to get approval of John and George and Samantha by accumulating more wealth. If you have less wealth, but you have the approval of Iraj and Farshad, that's much more preferable. Because, George, John, and Samantha are not really, they were there and no longer they're there. They weren't blood. Once they're gone, once the person is gone, nobody ever hears about them. Once, for some reason, those relationships can, die and go away as well. You always try to maintain good relationship with your kin, with the community, with the blood relatives, with people that with people that relationship is not based on whether at this point in time our values match. Tomorrow maybe our values don't match, and me and George, John, and Samantha will go our own way because our values won't match tomorrow. But today, since it matches, I value these guys. That's the thing, that I mean, if if all your relationship is based on whose values I agree with right now, well, we are human beings. We our values changes over time, and you shouldn't want to base all your relationships on who do I agree right now with, because probably tomorrow you're not going to agree with the same person. Relationships, I believe, should if one can, you know, demand, expect less material goods in life, and try to be fair with your blood relatives. Fair, just fair. If you can't do business with them, don't do business with them. If you can't be partners with them, don't be partners with them. In fact, try not to be partners with them. Don't do any business with them. Do everything you can to maintain a relationship, and since you know business and money is always going to be in the way, get in the way, try to not do anything financial with family, because to you the important thing is the relationship. But on the other hand, if a kid arrives and is obvious that he's a charity case, just do a charity. Just do a charity. If you see it's like an orphan, the father doesn't care, the mother doesn't care, the brother doesn't care, obviously it's a fucking charity. He's a fucking orphan. Even if you send him back to the shithole he came from, or even over there, he's going to be treated as an orphan. As we saw. I mean, everybody feels an orphan when you're around a professional, victim, like my sister. A professional victim tries to grab everybody's attention and direct everybody's attention to her problems and to her victimhood, and everybody pay attention to me and my issues because I'm the biggest victim here. And this was all her life, my sister. You can never win. You feel like an orphan next to such a person. A professional victim, if you have a professional victim in your family and he or she has been getting away with pretending to be a victim for a long time and everybody has bought her story, then you feel like an orphan in your own house, because if you don't want to play a bigger victim than the other guy, than your sister, then you always lose your lunch money to your sister, the bully, and you get beaten up because somehow she has gone and to the authorities and pretended to be a bigger victim, pretended to be your victim. So you lose your lunch money and get your ass beaten. So that was the situation that I was trying to avoid when I was putting up with all the shit that your family was, the shitty way that your family was treating me, and I never protested, was because of this. Was because, at home I had to go back to being invisible, because the whole time we had this good actor on the stage, my sister, with all her problems and all her stories of victimhood and all her unnecessary desires, big desires, in which my father had to materialize, because if he didn't, then again she would have become a bigger victim. So that's why I put up with all the shit that your family threw at me. Never protested. Never wanted to go back to that shithole. This was because this was the shit I had to deal with. Vida Farrokh Nejad. Stupid family, stupid parents, and a very nasty actor slash professional victim sister. Oh, God, it was awful. God, it was awful. God, it was awful.